Let's have the original discussion we wanted to have Duke here for. I think it was Doran saying Froggen would make C9 so much better, where Duke differed on
I
that.
said they
right?
would win LCS.
Okay. What's your take on that, Duke?
Oh, here's the context. You didn't set up there. Whereas Duke said that he actually thought Niski was more valuable. Well, he didn't actually contrast it. He just said Niski's a valuable player. And basically he implied for reasons other than just what you see in the survey, like things he brings to the team, his morale. And the key context here is Niski obviously was a Splice player last year. So there's a connection there since Duke obviously is the coach of Splice. So set your point up. What was your thinking there?
Duncan,
can't fit a lot in a tweet,
Duncan, let's start with your point. Do you tell me why C9 would win the split with Froggen?
First of all, most of the times that I've seen Niski actually try to play like fucking super hard carry champions where you're going to pop off, like it hasn't really worked very well. I've noticed it didn't seem like it was that good. So I notice in general, people always try to make excuses like, oh, he was just picking this like for the comp or to allow someone else to get something, which is like, okay, but if you do that, your team is basically admitting you're not like this focal point of the team. Like if I have Uzi, I'm not doing that. I'm not picking a shit AD carry so that someone else gets a nice top lane pick. That's not the way that people draft someone like that. So generally, I would say that already is a point against you. And then if you look, for me, Niski was a pretty decent player. I always thought he was like above average to average in LCS minimum. Like he always did fine, but I never saw him as some like late game carry. I think he's just an all right team player. In fact, I think most of the players in C9 are just good players. So to me, the difference is, I think if you had Froggen on a team specifically like that, I think they would be set up around him very, very well. He already has a nice champion pool of his own. The rest of the map's all fine. I think it would be even better in team fighting. I think they would be a better team personally.
They'd be better, but would they be win LCS better, like better than TL? That's like the big question.
They are. TSM almost won the last split. Like it's not like it's impossible to beat Team Liquid. They can pan. And I think that would be the player to do it. By the way, I'd love to see Jensen against Froggen. It's a pretty good matchup. What's your case against it then, Duke? What was your argument you were making?
I mean, first, the thing is also depending on what I heard from Froggen, but what I heard from Froggen is that it's a player that, I mean, I heard so many stories about Froggen that would never move from his lane for anything, and his gameplay kind of proves it, where he's playing a lot for him, which can be a good thing, by the way. Like he carries a lot his team, but I don't feel like he has the pressure that he would like. I feel like he's scaling a lot. But I don't see him having the pressure that a player that you invest so much resources on should have, and on the map at least. On the map, not maybe on his lane, even if I don't feel like he doesn't seem to be insanely aggressive as a laner. I think his CS is really well, but he doesn't seem super aggressive. And the problem is that I think it works in NA, but I don't see this playstyle working in Europe at all. And the other thing is, I mean, no, that's not that big. But on Niski, so what you say about him kind of being the catalyst of the other players because of his champion pool, there are players that have been making a really good career for themselves just doing that and being top players, like Kuro, for example. To some extent, Faker has been fulfilling this role a lot at SKT. Remember when they were just picking Galio every time, like no matter what, and just straight up winning with it. Crown, even if Crown can play a lot of other things, but when he was playing only Malzahn, this kind of stuff. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And actually, among the top mid laners, there are way more top mid laners that will only play the aggressive way than the team. I would say the team play way, where you are ready to play those kind of boring champions and you're ready to always sacrifice yourself for the team. And not every team can play with triple threats like G2 properly. And C9, they have a carry top laner with Licorice, and they have been playing a lot with Sneaky as the main team fight carrier of the team. Even from what I heard, Sneaky is maybe the most vocal player on C9, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Locodoco, but for me, having Niski able to canalize and always direct the pressure towards one of those two lanes is really good. And also, I think Niski is extremely talented. He might not be at the level of the absolutely top mid laner in NA, but the thing is, I worked with this guy, and he has the best mindset and drive I've ever seen for a player. And with the talent that he has, I have no doubt that he himself can place those carry champions if he takes the time to learn them one after the other. And he does on some of his champions. Cassiopeia, for example, just watch Splice against Vitality Spring Split playoffs last year, where he just 1v4, 1v5 Vitality and killed 2 of them before dying. He can do those plays, but he just needs to learn. But I think he has the mechanics for sure. And aside from it, in a team environment, having a player that will always be positive, that will not get triggered like a lot of players do, that always give his best in scrims, that will always try to communicate, always think about the game, but that's almost more valuable than anything for a coach, because sometimes just the mindset of the players can snowball to the mindset of the team and just drag the whole team down. And you guys don't see it. I mean, maybe Loco you do, but from when you hear the stories about how the teams behave together and just that dynamic just going down and totally collapsing, most of the time it's the consequence of their behavior and the personality in the team. And when you have a guy like Nisqy, you are pretty much immune to it. So I would take, while I'm not sure if I would take Caps over Perks, I would place all my money on Nisqy over Froggen any day.
Well, come on, Loco, stop being a pussy. What do you think?
Well, I'm a pussy because I don't defend
and
Froggen.
There's the difference.
What?
No, I never said that. I didn't hear you rushing to agree with him. That's why you're a pussy, because you won't give your actual opinion. So here's the difference, Loco.
Sure, go ahead.
Right now, he's in the chat now. So you can please him in the chat now for the next half an hour, or you can have me reference things for 10 years from now. So pick wisely. I would just say pick whichever one's real. But what's your actual opinion? Who would you take out of the two?
Who would I pick out of the two? I'd probably lean Nisqy. But for me, I think it's ridiculous to say C9 would win with Froggen. My little doubts about Nisqy is Nisqy's not like a new player. Like as Duke said,
can I actually get a reason as to why it's ridiculous, or do I just get your feelings only? Is this your fucking diary?
What?
Can I actually get some analysis of the league? Why is it ridiculous to say it? Come on.
Because C9's greatest strength is their flexibility and their ability to play.
Play like 700 champions wouldn't help at all, would it? You're probably going to do that shit again where you claim like he only plays fucking his champions, and then plays Vel'Koz like 7 times. Yeah, and Vel'Koz. Yeah, and another champion.
Froggen plays
well,
his style of champions his way. He has shown some variety with Irelia, but he plays a lot of the same. He plays Lux, Anivia, Vel'Koz. These are late game team fighting, terrain abusing champions, long range. There is a certain thematic that goes with it. It's not that Froggen can't play Irelia, but Froggen's just a different player when he gets Vel'Koz, when he gets Lux.
Look at the champions he played this season. He played 3 games of Anivia, 2 games of Corki, 2 games of Irelia, give him that, 2 games of Vel'Koz, 1 game of Lux. It's almost as if he's playing the same champion 8 times. And it's something that is a bit weird to me, Torin, about your... the thing is, I used to watch a lot of your podcast, and I still do, and I had this kind of the same, attachment to player like Forgiven, Froggen, etc. that were the standard players. The thing is, what is a bit weird is that you were never a fan of Rekkles and always a fan of Forgiven, right? But then why are you a fan of Froggen? Because Froggen is just a Rekkles version of the mid lane, and
he isn't at all. He is not at all. Right?
For me,
which of Froggen's team was he ever the third threat?
Okay, no, I'm talking about more.
No, game over. That's it. That's the role you play in the team. Then secondly,
I'm talking about playstyle.
Yeah. Then secondly, would Froggen bench himself if he couldn't play the current meta champions? Absolutely not. That's
okay. And you know why? Because Froggen has only been in terrible teams for a while. But do you think there is a reason why he's in terrible team? Do you think he's just unlucky, or maybe some?
I know 100% the reasons why, mate. Is first of all,
because he has too much money for what he's worth. That's the reason, and he always tries to go to at the latest part of the market when everyone took.
There's one reason.
The cheapest mid laners. I mean, everyone knows it, and so he comes in in teams that are desperate and that have all their money to bank on one player, and they give them the whole money. And so now he ends up in teams like GGS that probably overpay him super hard, but because no one is ready to play this among the top teams, he's ready to pay the same amount of money. And
that's a shame for those 5 other teams that finished below them, wasn't it?
No, because the thing is, if they paid this money for Froggen, then they can't pay the rest of the roster as good. And they can't have the same players. The thing is, if you want to pay Froggen...
How much is Niski? 50 cents or something? I don't think so somehow, mate. Let's compare those contracts, shall we? See who costs more. Shall we?
I don't know the exact numbers, but if I had to take a bet, I would probably say Niski is paid a lot less than Froggen.
I mean, maybe. I don't know how much Froggen is getting paid, but I would pay more for Niski than Froggen. So.
Anyway, complete the point. How is Froggen just like the Rekkles of mid lane?
Playstyle-wise, I agree. You can go ahead, Duke.
It's just that talking about laning phase, I know that it's a kind of recurring topic in the shows, especially about players like Froggen. Like Froggen is really clean about always having perfect farm, and I think that's a really good quality, and that is an underrated quality by the way among players, where people think that just farming well is granted, well it's absolutely not. I see players just missing CS all the time for no reason. I think Froggen is even in slightly negative matchup, even if his matchup are never negative because he takes really neutral champions anyway, he always farms super well, and he's an insane damage threat in team fight.
You notice Loco didn't mention any of that. Like, Loco literally basically just said, Froggen plays things that other people aren't playing, therefore he's worse, even though logically he's admitting, use your fucking brain. Why would it be a diss to say play? Like, think about it, in a game where there's a very defined meta, you're criticising for someone for not only spamming meta champions, yet at the same time admitting they do very well in their position. Logically, they must be doing something better than the people playing the stuff that's the strongest. Use your brain.
So Froggen does play off-meta stuff, and that is definitely a strength of his, but sometimes it's at a cost because he doesn't play the on-meta stuff. Like when Akali was the most popular, when Irelia was the most popular, he still stuck to the other champions. Like, it's a strength of his and also a weakness. Like, it's a double-edged sword that you're so specialized on these champions that aren't meta.
I'd love to see GGS playing fucking Akali mid all day long. Those games are going to go great, Loco. They'll probably just win them. You're right. Yeah, you win. Here's the point that doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
First of all, the reason why the Rekkles versus Forgiven argument will never be valid, and I'll ask you this, Duke, and if you disagree, fuck you. You can disagree, mate. I don't care. But the reason why that one never made sense is the argument used to be this, right? It was never actually like, obviously, Froggen versus Rekkles. It used to be Froggen versus Bjergsen. That was the comparison in similar fashion to Rekkles versus Forgiven, right? The difference is this, right? I could actually even acknowledge that at the time that Bjergsen was at the top in TSM and Froggen was on Alliance, that in theory, Bjergsen might have been a better player. Because at that time, when you could play aggressive assassin champions, it sometimes did have more of an impact to get solo kills or to roam on the map, as opposed to farm up the Brazilian 15 CS you'd have lost and then have a team fight, because you didn't get that as often. It wasn't as much of a winning style, right? Here's the difference that never made sense to me. Okay. I genuinely think people who think Rekkles is a better player are on some level, like they're on some level mentally ill. Like they actually need to have someone study them.
Damn, are we a less now? Are we a less now?
Oh, I mean,
here's why. Listen, it's not that one was like one strong in lane, one strong in fights, one does this, one does that. No. Forgiven is the best laning ADC maybe to ever play in the West ever. Like, unbelievably good in lane. So he's already doing the job of ADC in lane. And then in team fights, is Rekkles better than Forgiven in team fights? Bullshit. Rekkles always had way better teams, and he was almost never even the primary carry. So like, the only argument, as far as I can see, you can go against him with, which is a totally legit argument, by the way, this is the one area it's fine to say Rekkles is a better player, is Rekkles seems to be a much better teammate. He can accept self-sacrifice. He can literally, obviously,
more flexible,
at times let someone else carry him in the game. Yeah, these are things Forgiven can't. I would agree. Yeah. So mentality-wise, I would give the edge in that sense to Rekkles. But as a player, I never even knew what the debate was on that one. So I think the reason I'm setting that up that way is I think you've taken too light a take of my Rekkles versus Forgiven one. You've applied it to mid lane.
I mean, I did it a bit on purpose to trigger you, but the Rekkles versus Forgiven thing. The thing is, I've been the biggest fan of Forgiven. I started my career basically writing articles about how good was Forgiven, and I was basically casting the H2K games with the H2K shirt back in the days when they were in semi-final at Worlds on the French broadcast. So I agree that at the time I thought, with the knowledge I had, which was pretty low to be honest, that Forgiven was better than Rekkles out of what I could see about laning phase, etc. But again, there is so much more to the game. And at the moment, though, the thing is, as much I would love Forgiven to be relevant, he's not anymore, and he would need just to. I mean, I literally, if you tell me, is he good now or not? I have no clue. Like, I hope he is my. favorite player that ever played, I would say, to watch. And I agree that he was insane in pretty much every aspect of the game. But the thing is, he has not been played seriously for 2 years. So you have no idea. Is he that good? Can he adapt to the meta? Can he play mages? And also the thing is, can he be a good teammate? And for me, that's super important. And a player that, again, that's what I told to Niski, but as a coach, for me, a player that is impossible to manage during reviews, that has terrible work ethic, that has no discipline, that can't learn another way to see the game. For example, if you can't only play through bot, if you have to play through bot every game because you are forgiven, then your team is doomed.
Flaw.